seminar is going to be pretty simple. First, I'd like to give a little bit of history about color case hardening. Originally, it was done more for the hardness that was put into the steel. They were using iron ore that was not capable of being hardened without carburizing it in some way. They found out that they could take carbon out of wood or bone or anything that was organic and heat it along with this part and actually carburize the part. I have seen some very good photographs of stuff that was built around 1800, and the colors on part of it are still as vivid, even in a black and white photo, as I've ever seen on anything. During the, I suppose, 16 to 1700 era, they actually started pack hardening the way we know it now. With the mass production of parts and the interchangeability of parts that came about in the mid-1800s, and the mild steel that they still had, it was necessary to case harden all these parts. It wasn't until around 1900 that there was actually a hardenable enough steel that it would through harden. The case hardening on virtually all firearms built before 1900 or 1895, they will be case hardened if there was any strength given to the receivers. And after the First World War, roughly the only thing that was hardened was a few parts and shotgun frames. The whole purpose of case hardening in the later years was to give it a hard skin and a soft core. It was the only way they could actually impart hardness to that steel, and after they had come up with through hardening steel, they found that it was still a very viable thing. The value of this to the industry is the soft core will flex in there without shattering, and the hard skin will keep pieces from wearing. How do you case harden? Take a canister of some description. It can be round, square, flat. You add charcoal to it. Now, charcoal can come from any number of things. Well, it can come from anything organic, be it wood, bone, peach pits. Peach pits are actually one of the things that will make more hardness because there's cyanide in these peach pits. The way charcoal was originally made, they would lay logs out, lay bones out in piles, and mix straw into it. They would cover this with dirt, build a mound over it, leave tunnels going into it, and fix a way to light this. And the people that do this, they say, can actually walk up and feel this dirt after it's lit and tell where there's a hot spot, where it's burning. And they would have one hole in the center of it and several runners that went in. And by moving dirt around on these runners, it's just like a draft on a stove. They could make it burn or they could shut it down. And you don't want it to burn itself to pieces, you just want to char it. The easiest way for me or any of you to make charcoal today is to take a 5-gallon paint can. It's got one of these crimp-on lids. Put about a 3/8 hole in the center of it, go build a bonfire, fill that can up with whatever you want to char, be it leather, wood, whatever, and set this on that bonfire. And after 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you'll notice a steam come out of this hole in that can. You can reach down and get a firebrand and light that, and it will ignite. And I've seen fire come out of them that tall, and just with a rush of air. I mean, it's really burning the gases off that are in there. When that fire goes down, you know you've burned most of it, and you can take that bucket off and cover the top of that can where it doesn't get any more air, let it cool itself off, and you have charcoal. To get granulated charcoal, you have to pulverize it in some manner. And you don't want a dust. You want a granular form of it. The way I get the granular form of it today, I run it through a coffee grinder. I have an old-time coffee grinder that I bought just especially for this, so I can get a uniform size out of it.
John, are you talking a coffee mill or a grinder? Two plates going together like an old stone, like an old mill?
Well, no, it's got a wheel and a cylinder.
Okay.
It's the kind that was around during the 30s and 40s in grocery stores.
Yeah, okay.
Most of the time, it's not practical to try to make wood charcoal or bone charcoal because it's purchasable, and it's not at a real cheap rate, but it's still purchasable. If you want to try to use something like leather or peach pits, the only way you're going to get charcoal is to make it. And for people that want to play, it probably is something that they should try. The containers, everything that I read before I started doing this said that you had to have cast iron containers. Well, cast iron containers today are very difficult to come up with in the sizes that we need. The only way you're going to get it is to go out and have something cast and then sit down and machine it out, which becomes a great deal of it's labor intensive to get what you need. So I finally started making canisters out of heavy wall pipe, and now then I've gone down to where that I'm using stuff like 1/8 inch sometimes. The ovens that we use, you can use a gas-fired, you can use an electric oven. You do have to have some way of controlling the temperature to a high degree. The oven I have at home is electric. I've used several gas ones in some of the schools around. The oven I have I've built. The interior dimensions are 12 by 12 and 18 inches tall.